first question is, what is sweat? What's it made out of?
It's so funny. I've done quite a few podcasts and no one's ever asked me what actually consists of. It's essentially massive underestimation of environmental toxins in our environment that are in our bodies, wreaking havoc. So this invisible issue that no one, it's kind of talked about, but not nearly on the scale of the impact it has. For the documentary we're doing, that's about thousands of 9/11 survivors who had massive exposure through the building materials that essentially created a toxic dust. And then they started having symptoms across the board with. Nothing else worked. This worked for hundreds and ultimately thousands of these people. No one knows the story, hence the documentary. In my opinion, the Niacin sauna protocol is the most overlooked, important health protocol on the planet.
I'm really happy you wrote the book, and it's an amazing tool for anybody that's looking to improve their health and their wellness and to learn about sweating. Welcome to the Sweat Fanatic Podcast, where we talk all things sweating. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. It keeps you up to date on the Sweat Fanatic community and helps us more than you know. Today, we're going to talk about sweating and the benefits of sweating. I have one of the top guests I've wanted on since we started this thing, Justin Glazer. He wrote the book Sweat, Uncovering Your Body's Hidden Superpower. It's the holy Bible of sweating and a fantastic reader listen. I recommend anyone and everyone to read this book. Justin missed nothing in the world of sweating and everything is spot on. This book will change your life. So if you haven't gotten it yet, I highly recommend purchasing his book. He is also actively making a documentary called Sweat, the Untold 9/11 story. With that being said, Justin, thank you for coming on the Sweat Fanatic Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So give us a little bit about your background. I know you just said you grew up in New Jersey, right? And now you're in New York City. And then how did you get into sweating and saunas and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's so I grew up in New Jersey. I went to college in Michigan. Around my sophomore, junior year, I started to have all these health challenges, things like fatigue, brain fog. Those are the two main ones. And it was really just hampering my quality of life. And I didn't know why. Also, a lot of automatic negative thoughts, they call them, just mental health wasn't in a great place and couldn't figure out, there was no logical reason for why. And then that led to trying north of a dozen different things to help. So kind of attacking the problem to figure out, okay, what are the main things people say this is caused by? How do I start changing those? So diet, exercise, meditation, all these normal things. And nothing was really making a dent in it. And so a year or 2 years out of college, blood tests, acupuncture, you name it, I was trying it. And one day was recommended to try a sauna. Didn't think much of it. Did a session, about half an hour, and felt immediate relief from all those symptoms. Brain clarity, felt sharp again. Didn't know why. It didn't last, but it was like a taste of it. And that set me to keep doing it. And eventually that cured all my symptoms. And as I was doing it, I was researching, reaching out to experts, joining communities to figure out what the thesis for why it was helping me was. And then ultimately realized it wasn't something so unique about me, but this was happening for thousands of other people and could help millions of other people. And so that core thesis is essentially massive underestimation of environmental toxins in our environment that are in our bodies, wreaking havoc. So this invisible issue that no one, it's kind of talked about, but not nearly on the scale of the impact it has. So a lot of work by Dr. Joe Pizzorno illuminated that for me. And then the research showing sweat is the best way to get this stuff out of the body. And so super intuitive, super obvious once you understand the ideas I lay out in the book, but it's just not part of a mainstream conversation, primarily just because there's no incentive structure for this to get out. But really the argument is, hey, most health challenges are at least partially or entirely linked to environmental toxins, and sweating and sauna are the best way to get them out of your body.
Here's the book. Here's your book, Justin, or for the listeners, if they can see it right here. When I read your book, I was like, dude, this dude's my long lost brother that I never met. He's like a brother from it. I'm like, if I was to write a book, which I don't have the time to do, it would be pretty close to that. It's like you hit everything on the head. Like everything, I was just like, yes, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Nice. Thank you. That was the goal.
So did you record the audiobook?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I went to a studio and did the whole thing.
Yeah. How was that? Was it a lot of work? Was it enjoyable?
It was. I'm a musician for fun, so I played guitar and written songs and all that. So I've been in studios mainly for that. So it was funny to go into the music studio to just record a voiceover. It was interesting because you really, I was editing this thing a lot, but hearing it out loud and watching someone, the mixing engineer who I worked with, who had no health and wellness background, nothing, just kind of like when he'd react to a sentence I said and be interested in how it would land with him. So it was a good experience. It definitely gave me some ideas for a second edition to kind of parse some things out, but all in all, I was happy with it.
I remember years ago when I was first starting to learn about saunas and learning the benefits of sweating and all that, there really wasn't a place that you could just go or a book that you could read that talks about the process of sweating, what it is, how it works, and all the health benefits that come with it. And I like how you describe it in your book as a lot of people think it's a side effect of working out. So it's this thing that happens to our body and it's kind of unenjoyable and something we have to deal with. But in the reality, when we start studying sweating and the benefits of sweating, we start to realize all the health benefits that come along with it, and it makes us feel a lot better. So I'm really happy you wrote the book, and it's an amazing tool for anybody that's looking to improve their health and the wellness and to learn about sweating.
What were you struggling with?
Well, I was heavier, so I was about 60 pounds heavier. I didn't know it, but I had a ton of brain fog, and I didn't live a very healthy lifestyle. I didn't drink or do drugs or anything like that, but I ate like crap. I ate a lot of sugar. When I first used the sauna, 2 hours later, I was like, oh my God, I feel absolutely incredible. Like mentally, like I was talking to a manager at a Walgreens and like I was chatty Cathy, which I'm never really out and about by myself. I'm kind of a more of an introvert type of person. And I'm like, I literally was like, did I take a drug this morning? And I was like, no, what did I do? I was like, I used that dang sauna. And then I'm like, I'm going to try it next time. And then next time I tried it, I felt incredible. And then it was just like from there. Yep. But then it helped me lose 60 pounds and my body feels a lot better. Then I started stretching. And it was like the catalyst, the first thing that set a chain of reaction of just improving my health and wellness. And it all stems back to sweating. Just starting to sweat, feel good. Now I want to go find out what else can make me feel good and make me feel better.
Yeah. Amazing.
So when we talk about sweating, I guess, what is sweat? So I guess that's the number one first question is, what is sweat? What's it made out of?
Yeah, it's made out of a few things. It's so funny. I've done quite a few podcasts and no one's ever asked me what actually consists of. I break it down in the book and I'm blanking on the components, but typically there's minerals in there. Hopefully there's heavy metals and xenobiotics. There's obviously water and salt. It's kind of a combination of things that get excreted through the eccrine and the apocrine glands.
So then you went on your health journey and you're looking to improve your health and you started using a sauna. And so can you describe your daily sauna use or sweating? What's your protocol look like? How often do you use it? That type of stuff.
Yeah. So I think most importantly, and what I'm trying to get across through the book is kind of a belief for why to do it. And so I think when most people sweat, it's kind of like you said, it's like, oh, I'm exercising and okay, cool. It's a sign that I worked hard or something like that. Whereas I think people who digest these ideas view it as kind of a necessity in the modern world. Like, okay, like I've taken on a toxic load this week. I need to get it out kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Which is, I think is there's obviously a ton of things going on in the science of going through a sauna session or sweating. But I think that to me is the largest, most under talked about component, which is literally getting substances out of your body every time you do it that are interrupting function. So for me, it's 3 to 5 times a week. I have a infrared sauna in my apartment from a great brand, and it's like a 20 to 45 minute session. Kind of the prevailing idea is to get in like 20 minutes of heavy sweat per session. So if it takes 5 minutes to start sweating, 25-minute session kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. What really hit home for me is when you talked about our brain being 40% fat and a large amount of toxins are stored in fat. And when we detox our bodies, we are helping reduce toxins in the fat in our brains, leading to mental clarity, less brain fog. That's the number one reason why I sweat every day. It's the mental clarity. It's less brain fog. So when you really talked about that, I understood and I really appreciated it a lot because that's something that most people don't think about when they talk about using a sauna or sweating. Do you notice a big difference in your brain fog or your mental clarity when you use your sauna personally?
Yeah. What started me on the sauna thing was that first session giving me I didn't even realize how much brain fog I have. One of the weird things about being a person is you don't have a reference for like your inner state, so you just can't accept where you're at. So you might have, a layer of, I don't even know how to define it, but you might have brain fog going on that you're not aware of. And so particularly after the Niacin sauna protocol, what a lot of people report, which we can get into, is a intense mental clarity they haven't experienced before, essentially. Kind of the main argument there is the niacin liberates the toxins from the fat, from the brain, and then you're sweating it out, and it's kind of changing things in there and allowing things to work more properly. So I've definitely noticed massive changes in mental clarity, less brain fog, less kind of, I think some people call it derping, which is you kind of haze. And it opens up this weird, there's, how do I explain this? There's like discrete things you can measure with health, right? Like you can see like a before and after weight. IQ is something you can actually do something discrete, which is interesting. So like 9/11 survivors had a reported increase in IQ from before and after the Niacin sauna protocol. And the argument there would be kind of related to this. So I'd love to see more studies on this topic to kind of prove it out. But subjectively, yes, everyone, mood improvements. I've spoken to people who thought they had mental health disorders and then they realized, maybe they did have some imbalanced perspectives that therapy could help with, but in reality, a lot of it was maybe they had gadolinium stored in their brain or mercury or aluminum, other things that are in the environment. And so another tricky part is toxic body load. How do you measure it? So we have all these tests to determine what's in your body and how much, but it stores in different ways. You might have a pocket of it in your liver. Something that doesn't show up in a fat biopsy from your butt or wherever you get it from. So, an ideal world would be, let's do like a body scan that shows exactly the quantities of these heavy metals and xenobiotics in your body. And then so we could do a before and after. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. There are tests, heavy metal, hair tests, and things like that, and blood tests and fat tests, but it's an incomplete picture. But the anecdotal subjective experience of people is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. So let's get into the niacin because you talk about it in your book, and I've heard a lot of people get really good results with it. I know about niacin and binders, and I've used them a couple times. It's not part of my daily protocol, or I should say, but it's something I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in learning about it and the benefits of it. So what's your protocol like with niacin and binders? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So just to give people context. So in my opinion, niacin sauna protocol is the most overlooked important health protocol on the planet. And the reasoning is the environmental toxin issue. And then what niacin allows is to liberate those toxins that store in the fat that might be in there for months, years, decades even, dumps that into the bloodstream, and then you time that with sauna. So niacin is this vitamin B that has this miraculous property called rebound lipolysis that allows the fat to release the toxins, to put it simply, and then to time that with sauna to sweat it out. So it's a deeper detox in short. So, for the documentary we're doing, that's about thousands of 9/11 survivors who had massive exposure through the building materials that essentially created a toxic dust. And then they started having symptoms across the board. What happened was nothing was working. Doctors were giving them pills and steroids and inhalers and things, but it wasn't getting to the root cause, which is these toxins that are in the body and in the fat. They put them through a 30-day niacin sauna protocol, which is the length of a full protocol is 30 days, where you're increasing your dose of niacin, you're taking binders to grab onto things that the sweat doesn't get out, and you're resupplementing. And so it's this whole timed thing for 30 days. And so it pretty much had a 100% cure rate for most every issue these people were dealing with. Nothing else worked. This worked for hundreds and ultimately thousands of these people. No one knows this story, hence the documentary. So it's just an extreme example to showcase its power. So people who hire someone to work with to do this protocol, they'll do it for 30 days. And the current research shows that gets about 1/3 of your stored toxins out of your body, the 30-day protocol. So typically you want to do it 3 times total. For people at home, what, the experts in this field are comfortable with doing on your own is taking up to 400 to 500 milligrams of niacin. So, if you get a bottle of Flushing niacin, which you can get anywhere, it's a vitamin B. It's not patented. Part of the reason you haven't heard of this is because it's not patented and people can't sell this at a major profit. You take 100 milligrams. Within an hour, you hop in the sauna, you sweat, you take charcoal after as a binder. And that's okay to do at these lower levels to get a taste of it and do it. And if you're going to do it multiple days in a row, you want to titrate up, which just means increase your dose of the niacin. Otherwise, the flush doesn't happen and the lipolysis doesn't really happen. So you can go up to like 400 to 500 milligrams. Beyond that, you should really be working with a professional to make sure, because you're liberating a lot of toxins. You can have a Herxheimer reaction. You could mess up the timing of the sauna and the supplements you're taking, because you're sweating a lot during this. This is an hour 15 when you do the full protocol of infrared sauna, which interestingly it used to be 4 hours for the 9/11 survivors because they use a dry sauna. But the research showing that you could actually, with infrared, it's a deeper detox, and they can cut that time down to an hour 15.
Wow.
So yeah, so for me, I did the 30-day protocol because I wanted to, prove it to myself that it works and all that. I worked with the 9/11, the doctor who ran that clinic's son now coaches people around the world on it. So I worked with Dan, 30 days. And then occasionally I'll do a, 100 milligram niacin session, just kind of randomly. There's any
Without the sauna?
Oh, with the sauna. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're liberating toxins. So to not find that with sweat. So, if it's 100 milligrams, I'll wait an hour. I'll probably have a flush in 20 minutes. I'll sauna. And then it kind of keeps working through your system. So you want to sauna the next day, even if you're not taking niacin.
When you talk about flush, are you talking about flushing the toxins out of our system? Or are you talking about that red flush that you get with niacin?
The red. Yeah.
Okay.
So niacin, you have to kind of warn people because they think it's going to be this pain. They think something's going wrong, essentially. Because you take it, 20 minutes later, you'll get like beet red. You have blotches of red in different areas in your body. It looks like you stayed in the sun for 8 hours by accident. It'll itch. Some people get cold. The heart might race. But it's a totally safe, at the right doses process. But it is uncomfortable. Some people like it. Some people hate it. So it's a very unique experience.
Oh, yeah. I can think of the first time I took niacin. I was taking it. So I'm a fireman, and I took it at the firehouse in the morning. I had never taken it before. I just purchased it, and I was leaving shift at 8 a.m. and I was getting ready to leave. And one of the other firemen come up to me and they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're completely red. You look like you're having an allergic reaction. Are you okay? And then I realized, I go, yeah, I feel really warm. I feel itchy. I go look in the mirror. I'm kind of freaking out. And I didn't really know what it was. And then I Googled niacin and I learned about the flush part of it. And since then, I've been hesitant to do it, but now after our conversation, I think I'm going to start a 30-day niacin flush program with my sauna.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I recommend working with someone for the full thing. His name's Dan Root. What they'll do is they'll send a full thing of supplements, timed, the binders you need to take, the right niacin, how to schedule it, because 30 days is a commitment. So for me, I don't love the flush. So what I would do is at 5 a.m., I'd have an alarm. I'd take it, fall asleep during the flush, back asleep for a couple hours, get up at 7, exercise for 30 minutes, do the sauna for an hour 15, take the binders and supplements, everything, get on with my day. But it is a commitment. Yeah, I mean, to get a taste for it, I think doing it yourself up to 500 milligrams is okay.
Speaking of things, using with the sauna, what do you think of sauna hats?
I think
I don't know much about them. I mean, I hear the concept of they insulate your brain so you can handle the sauna longer and get more benefits is the concept behind it, is what I'm thinking.
I think there's a few things. So some people are worried about infrared, but the skull is protective from the people I've spoken to. Also, your infrared panels really don't need to be above your shoulders, from my understanding. I worry about what they're made of. And so if they're not 100% natural materials and there's synthetics in there, you're just leaching that onto your head, which isn't great. So yeah, I think with sauna and all health things, there's kind of what might be a negative unintended consequence of. Yeah. So people going in with a plastic water bottle, and then toxins migrate with heat, so that those plastics are leaching into the air in a hot box that you're now breathing this stuff in when you're in there to sweat it out.
And then the big thing, that is such a no-no to go in there with a plastic water bottle. I mean, if you know anything about plastics and the chemicals in it, is that when the plastic is heated up, that leaches into the water, which then we're putting into our body. So I always I tell people, glass, if you're going to bring water in there, which I recommend, bring it in there with a glass container, like a mason jar or something like that. And that's how I hydrate while I'm in there. So I love the part in the book where you talk about trying to find a sauna to use or looking for different places. I travel around the country quite a bit, and I'm always searching for ways to sweat. I prefer an infrared sauna because I feel the best after using it. But when I'm traveling, I have to be to work at either 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. wherever I'm working. So usually a lot of infrared sauna wellness studios, they're not open at that time yet, or that's the time they're opening and I don't have time for a session. So then next step would be looking for a hot yoga studio or a traditional sauna at a gym. And you pretty much kind of described what I do when I'm out on the road searching for a sauna. I go to Google Maps and type in sauna, go to reviews, try and search to see if there's a sauna, and then call them if you have to. Do you travel quite a bit? Is that something you're kind of, when you're not home, that you're out there searching for a place to sweat?
Yeah, I like to make sure where I'm going there's at least somewhere, which sounds probably crazy to a lot of people, but like I think when you keep doing it, like I don't get sick very often. I used to get sick 8-9 times a year before all this, and now I've gotten sick like maybe once in the last 3 to 4 years, and it's almost like the sauna kind of staves it away for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if I'm traveling, I'll look if the hotel has it or somewhere in the neighborhood has something I can use. Otherwise, it's kind of frustrating because it just feels like my system's backing up, and I can almost feel it coming.
Yeah, I noticed like 2 to 3 days after I haven't sweat or used a sauna that I feel like the inflammation's building up in my body. I get the brain fog. I don't feel as sharp. And I really start to crave the sauna and crave the sweating process. Plus, then once I do find a sauna, say I get home and I use my infrared sauna and I start sweating, it's almost like my sweat feels different. Like it's got a different consistency. It feels thicker, slimier a little bit. And even the towels, if I don't wash them right away, they stink more than when I'm sweating on a daily basis, like during my normal routine. And I think that's the ammonia and some of the toxins that our body is sweating out, that when we're doing it on a regular basis, we're constantly getting rid of that stuff. And then when we stop, it starts to build back up into our body.
Yeah, I think so too. I also, I started wondering why I was experiencing those issues when other people weren't. And if we all had similar exposure levels, which isn't true. Like your home is a major source and your mother passing things on to you in the womb is a common thing. So what I found, and that I believe to be true, is just the bio-individuality of people. And so someone could have a massively big advantage in their ability to detoxify compared to someone else. So I thought of it like Dr. Pizzorno talks about, like someone's liver can do 1,000 times better job, literally 1,000-fold better job at processing certain toxins than another person, depending on genetics and just setup. So the thought is like, if you think of like a pipe, like a narrow pipe and then like a big pipe. And if there's just a stream of like sludge coming through it, the narrow pipe, it'll slowly start sticking to the sides and then it'll get backed up. But the big pipe, even though that same stuff is going through, it's not touching. Mm-hmm. So I think part of the population is more sensitive to this stuff, and I'd probably be one of them. And so we feel these things more. Whereas someone, might never sauna and just seem to be high energy all the time. It's like, well, what's going on? There's probably a bunch of factors. But what's missing is long-term effects that aren't visible now and that aren't felt, that environmental toxins do in terms of DNA damage and oxidative stress. And these things that you're not feeling, like brain fog or immediate symptomology, are affecting you 10, 20 years down the line and will catch up to you. Dr. Pizzorno is in a basketball league, and he's 70 years old, and he started when he was like 35 in the same league. And at 45, everyone starts dropping off, but he's like 20, 25 years ahead of everyone. And he credits it to just an obsession with minimizing toxin exposure and detoxifying through things like sauna. And so I think that's the thesis, and everything. I keep looking for holes in the thought process.
Yeah.
Like the more I look, the more I feel like the movie The Big Short, where I'm like, is no one else seeing this?
I know. Probably a couple years before you released your book, I remember looking for a book to sweat, and I think I touched on it early, and I'm just like, there's books for breathe, for stretching. There's cold books for like Wim Hof and stuff like that, but there was no book that just flat out laid out the benefits of sweating and how it works, and exactly like the way that you did. So the market and was really craving and looking for something that you made that can just organize the process in a certain way and explain what is sweat, how does it work, why do we do it, and what are the benefits of doing it. And there's a number of different ways to sweat. We agree as far as infrared sauna is my preferred way to sweat. That's why I have one at my house that I use every day. You have one at your house every day. But there's other ways to sweat. There's hot yoga, there's traditional saunas, there's hot baths, that type of stuff, steam rooms. And that's a big question I'll get a lot. People will come to me and ask me, well, what is the difference between a traditional sauna, an infrared sauna, and then what are the benefits? And I have my internal ranking on what I like to use or the way I like to sweat when I'm out on the road traveling. And number one, I like infrared sauna. Number two, I'll try and go to a hot yoga studio. If that's not available, I'll find a hot rock. And then if that's all fails, then I got to try and find a steam room. And it seems like, is that the same kind of order that you have in your mind?
Yeah, pretty much. I have concerns around each of them. I actually feel like public dry saunas. So with infrared saunas, the two issues I lay out are EMFs and toxins in the build. And so you're in the industry, it's unregulated. And so in large Facebook groups or places where people can self-report, I'll see brands say that they're low EMF, and then the EMF meter they go in and the EMF thing is going off. So I worry about radiation in saunas, infrared saunas.
For sure.
There's a handful of brands I know 100% sure of. I'm sure there's others, but there are a few big players where I'm like, I've seen too many people show that they're high EMF. And then issues like toxins in the build. So like, we use bamboo, but bamboo's shown to often be toxic, or glues or flame retardants in the builds. So I have suspicions around some infrared saunas. And then with dry saunas, it's really more the toxins in the build issue. But with public saunas, they're on 18 hours a day for years. And so they've off-gassed a lot of it. So I'm less concerned about it versus like the brand spanking new. It's like when you get a new car and you smell the leather in the car. That's what's happening, is it's off-gassing. So if it's off-gassed enough, it's less of an issue. And then steam rooms, I have a lot of, unless they have a very intense filtration process for the water and are checking for mold, I worry about that because you're breathing in tap water essentially direct into your lungs, and that's contaminated. So, and then mold grows in dark, damp places, which is what a steam room is. So steam rooms, I almost always avoid.
Yeah.
Been in a steam room in a while.
Yep. And they never clean them either, too. These public steam rooms, public saunas. I mean, you go in there and it's like some of these gyms, they'll clean the entire thing, top to bottom, inside out, the whole gym, but they just don't clean the sauna or the steam room. And it drives me crazy because that's where you would think that you want to clean the most. And then since we're talking about toxins and that type of stuff, I usually recommend vinegar water to clean my sauna. Is that what you use, or do you use something else?
Yeah, no, that's good. Similar thing, right? You don't want to like lather the inside of your sauna with toxic materials and then heat it up.
Yeah.
Hot box.
Defeats the purpose. All right. So you're coming out with a documentary called Sweat, the Untold 9/11 story. I saw a clip on your Instagram. It looks phenomenal, and I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to talk about it? When should we expect something to be released?
Yeah, I just put out the press release through PR Newswire, so I'm hoping to get some traction with some publications picking it up, so we get some national press essentially. But it's the story that I came across in my book, interviewing survivor, primarily Anne-Marie Principe, who, her case study was on 14, 15 medications, couldn't breathe, sounded like Darth Vader, was going to die. Face was bloated. Daughter wouldn't let her drop her off at school because she sounded so bad and was scaring the other kids. And yeah, it wasn't working with doctors. This is just one of hundreds of stories, but the one we chose to focus on, and went through the protocol and completely healed. I've got 9/11 survivors, environmental toxin experts, myself, bathhouse founders in the city, people who are around sauna all the time. I'm a couple other doctors. And so we've got a good cast to kind of tell this story that I'm hoping people go, wow, I've never heard this. And wow, this is unbelievable. And oh, this actually applies to me too. So it's really, the goal is to spread those core ideas of environmental toxins are an issue. Sauna really helps. And this Niacin sauna protocol, if we extrapolate the ideas and the outcomes from this, and if we did larger studies, I think we'd be blown away with what it could do for public health.
Oh, yeah. Every year, it seems like a couple more sauna studies come out, and every year there's a couple more health benefits, or the health benefits that were studied, we find even better benefits about them. So I appreciate you telling that story, especially being a firefighter paramedic. I mean, that's the reason why we actually put one in at our firehouses. A couple guys had cancer at the firehouse. So we were like, well, let's try and figure out a way to reduce our risk for cancer. And we found out about the benefits of sweating and infrared saunas. And we all pitched our money together and bought a sauna for the firehouse and had it installed. And the first couple times that I did it, it was a awakening experience because I would take a white rag and wipe the sweat off my body and it would start to turn brown. And I had already showered and got the soot off. So either it was really detoxing my body or I didn't.
That's what it is with the 9/11 stars. The pictures, the towels are stained blue from manganese.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
It's like, you might have thought it was like something like, like a trick, like something happened that wasn't real, but that was real.
Yep. And then I've had other firemen say the same thing. And I'm really on a quest to get an infrared sauna in as many firehouses as possible.
Oh, I like that mission. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And it was a lot of firefighters who were part of the 9/11 clinic through this Niacin sauna protocol.
Were you in New York City when that happened, 9/11?
I was 9 or 10 years old. I remember the day, but I was actually upstate New York. I was in middle school, I think.
Okay. Gotcha. That was my 16th birthday. I remember it vividly.
Yeah. Yeah. But tons of, the firefighter thing is massive exposure. So I'm sure the Niacin sauna protocol will be even more profound for you. You have I had weird benefits. Like I'd done so much sauna and probably haven't had I don't know where I had exposure. I painted garages with my brother one summer when we're spraying the paint, and like a week in, I'm like, should we only be wearing these little masks? And I look on the instructions and like the guys in the hazmat suit, like we were not properly like, oh, maybe that was an exposure. So like, but firefighters, it's a constant exposure. The LA wildfire situation is reminding me a lot of the 9/11 experience. So people are returning home and they're like, oh, there's like dust in the way up, like I'll clean it up. But like Anne Marie, she wasn't hit with a wave like in the streets. She was out of that area. Returned to work. Her office had the soot and the toxic dust in there, but she worked in there thinking it wasn't a big deal. And that's where her exposure came from. It wasn't even the, at the base of the building. So with what's going on in LA, I think that we're going to see a similar situation. And I want to bring exposure to that for this purpose as well.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, but that makes perfect sense. So I live in Wisconsin, and the last couple of years we've had Canadian wildfires. The smoke from it has dropped down into the state of Wisconsin. Have you experienced it in New York at all?
I think we did. Was it last year or the year before? It was like an orange smoke that was everywhere.
Yeah. And I live in a condo, and I have a Dyson air purifier that pulls out the formaldehyde and that type of stuff. And the app monitors the outside air quality and the inside my condo air quality. And when that was going on, when I would crack the door open with the wildfire smoke from Canada, my Dyson would go into like the highest level that it possibly could, saying that my air quality is dangerous. And it was showing all these different chemicals and toxins that were in the air that I was breathing in just from that alone. But also, when a house starts on fire, you got the carpet that's on fire, you got the couch that's on fire, and you got all these different toxins and chemicals that are being released. And you don't even need to start it on fire. Like you said, that stuff is just releasing all the time, especially when it's brand new. And then you talk about the water that we're drinking. You can kind of mitigate that if you have a good filter or you're getting really good water. But the air that we breathe, I mean, they're talking about there's mercury in ice in Antarctica lead. I'm sorry, it was lead in Antarctica in the molecules just from the vehicles being driven around before they took lead out of gas. And it's in the air we breathe, it's in the food that we eat, and it's in the water that we drink. So you just can't get around it. And sauna, sweating, it's spot on with reducing that stuff from us.
Definitely.
All right. Sorry, I just went on a little rant.
I'll just say on top of that. So in the book, I talk about, okay, like if this is the issue, there's two solutions. One is get out what's in your body and then decrease your exposure. And so on the decrease your exposure, on the get it out of your body, it's the sauna, it's the Niacin sauna, it's the sweating. On the decrease the exposure front, there are the different categories and like what's the low hanging fruit that's just easy to implement that just of course makes sense to do, like a shower filter, a quality shower filter. You're bathing in chip water all day. Your skin is absorbents, like filter out toxins from the shower. Water filter, ideally, I mean, I worry about clothing a lot. As much as I can, because I like some clothes I have that unfortunately had things in them. But like how do you optimize the home to minimize exposure? Like, did you just get a brand new rug that's going to be off-gassing for the next 2 years into your living room? What are the best air filters to use? What percentage of the toxins is it actually pulling? So I think it's kind of like a matrix thing where like all of a sudden, like you see the world differently and it can freak you out.
Yep.
But then it's just kind of getting grounded in reality and realizing there are many solutions you could do, and it's only going to make your life better. So to me, it's an empowering thing if you look at it the right way.
Yep, absolutely. It's only going to improve our health when you can minimize the exposure to toxins and get the toxins out of our body. Is there anything else you want to talk about while we're on, Justin?
I feel like we've covered quite a bit. I encourage people to check out the book, and Jailware's out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. There she is.
Yep, I'm telling you.
Cover. You got the hard copy.
Yeah, I got the hardcover. I got the audiobook. This
easy read, guys.
Yep.
6 pages. And I think with the cover, like what I was trying to do is similarly is like just how the word sweat feels. It's like gross.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to make it pretty and change the connotation for how people feel about it.
But yeah, I love it. I love sweat. So I tell people it's a weird thing to be passionate about. It really is. But it's what I'm passionate about, and it's for good reason because we feel better after doing it.
100%. And yeah, it's always interesting stories I hear from people. One guy was like, read the book, was like, oh, I play tennis in the Florida sun and I get drenched afterwards. And it's the best feeling. Now I have a better understanding of why. Things like that. So,
all right, perfect. And then where can our listeners find you? Where can they reach out to you if interested?
Yeah. So on Twitter, it's Hey Justin Glazer, Glaser. If you want to shoot me an email, justin@sweatthebook.com. My book's available also on sweatthebook.com, but also on Amazon. Like you said, Kindle, paperback, audio.
So I'm a big audiobook fan too, but it's really good to read the book. But then when I listen to it after I read the book on Audible, that's when you really start to remember everything and everything hits home and really ingrains it into your brain. And when I'm listening to the audiobook, I can actually picture the place I'm at when I was reading those words too. And I just retain the knowledge a lot better when I do both of those things. So I recommend people buy the book and then just listen to the book afterwards because it's really going to help you a lot. So, all right. Well, thanks for coming on, Justin. I really appreciate you doing the episode. It's going to help a lot of people detox, recover, just feel better mentally, physically. You're a wealth of information for our listeners, and just make sure our listeners go out there, purchase the book Sweat, and listen to the audiobook, and look out for the documentary that's coming out about 9/11 and the survivors of that. And yeah, so that's it for this episode of the Sweat Fanatic Podcast. And until next time, get out there and sweat.